Hello friends, welcome to the third video in the series where we are talking about the detailed breakup topic wise of the questions which have been asked in biochemistry section in the AIIMS exam in the last 7 years, meaning starting from 2013 right up to 2019, making up the 14 question papers. Now in the last two videos we have talked about some of the very major topics and you've seen what are the subtopics which have been asked there. We talked about the general biochemistry, we talked about the carbohydrates, we talked about biological oxidation, we mentioned the lipids, we talked about the enzymes, we talked about amino acids and the proteins. So we are moving on from there and continuing in the discussion. Next topic that we're going to mention is the molecular biology. So we are moving on to the molecular biology section, and here we are. So in the molecular biology section, as you can see from the nucleotides, one single question has been asked till now, and that is on the Lesch-Nahan syndrome. An image-based question was there, and where you were asked about the enzyme deficiency in a given disorder. So nucleotide metabolism, not very important per se for the AIIMS exam. Rarely clinically applied question has been asked. Talking about the nucleic acids, questions have been asked about the chemistry, that is the composition, and about the chemical bonds. Image-based question have also been asked on the chemical bonds, as well as direct one-liner question have also been asked about the chemical bonds. Talking about DNA, you can see large number of questions have been asked from the DNA, some of them directly, some of them indirectly. Question has been asked about the coding DNA. Question has been asked about the coding DNA. Question from the nuclear DNA has been asked from various subsections. We have got question from the organization of the nuclear DNA, the structure of the nucleosome, the epigenetic changes, particularly CpG islands. This question has been asked two times. The CpG islands have been asked two times, and other epigenetic changes have also been asked. What is the effect of methylation? What is the effect of demethylation? Like that, questions have been asked. Question have also been asked from the mitochondrial DNA. Two questions, one based on properties and another based on the inherited disorders of the mitochondrial DNA have been asked. Coming to the RNA, multiple questions have been asked from RNA also. As you can see, questions have been asked about the types, the different types of the RNA. Question has been asked about the post-transcriptional modification. What is the what do you find at the 5' and the 3' and particularly in the messenger RNA, even in the tRNA. Question has been asked about the microRNA, also known as the miRNA, and one question directly on the action of microRNA, that is the RNA interference. Now, question has also been asked about the biosynthetic process of the RNA and what is the direction of RNA synthesis. So these are some basic conceptual questions which have been asked from the section of RNA. Lastly, moving on to replication. From replication, some very specific questions have been asked. Question on the DNA polymerase. Then again another question from DNA polymerase known as the Klenau fragment. Question on DNA damage and DNA repair. Question about the severe combined immunodeficiency, the type of damage that you see in the severe combined immunodeficiency. Then specific question on CRISPR-Cas9, how it is acting. That question has been asked. And then we have question from translation. Two questions have been asked here. One about the formation of a new protein, and another question focusing on the initiation of the translation. So these are some of the questions which have been asked from molecular biology. As you can see, large number of questions coming from molecular biology section, much more than what we had seen in the lipid section. So if you compare the two, obviously molecular biology will need more of your attention, more questions, more concept-based questions are being asked, whereas in the lipids we had seen very superficial questions were asked. More focus was on the lipoprotein section. Moving on to one of the very ignored topics, and that is nutrition. Most of the students generally leave out this topic and they end up losing very easy, you can say about 12 to 16 marks, because we can get 2 to 4 questions from this section. So general concepts, one question has been asked from general concept. Frequently you get the question on RQ and what is known as the thermic energy. Respiratory question and thermic energy very frequently asked. Energetics of exercising muscle has been asked twice. Biochemical changes in diabetics has been asked. What are the changes in the fed and the fasting state? These are some of the questions which are coming from the nutritional status of the individual. Moving on to vitamins. Now, I said previously also in our first lecture in the series where we had the broad breakup of the topics, I mentioned vitamins is a surprisingly very frequently asked topic, and that too in terms of clinical cases. Most of the questions are not one-liners, rather they are clinical cases when it comes to vitamins. So, what are the things that you need to know? Enzymes which are used to identify deficiency of the various vitamins. What are the typical clinical presentation for the deficiencies, and which vitamins are synthesized in the body? Three questions asked from vitamin B1, two of them were clinical cases. Similarly, two questions from vitamin B2, one of them was a clinical case, one of them was a straight line question. One question from vitamin B3, question from B5, particularly about the coenzyme function of B5, and two questions from B7, one about the deficiency, how the deficiency occurs, and second on the coenzyme function of B7. One single question from B12, one single question from B12. Now, multiple questions from vitamin C. Vitamin C has been asked multiple times. As you can see, role in iron absorption, enzyme required for synthesis, presentation case of deficiency, what is the antioxidant action. So all of these questions have been asked from vitamin C. One single question from vitamin K. So what you find, the water soluble vitamins is something which you must know properly. Very, very frequently asked in the AIIMS exam, water soluble vitamins, a lot of clinical cases coming in from the water soluble vitamins. Coming to the minerals, the only mineral which has been asked in AIIMS exam is iron. Three questions have been asked from iron in the AIIMS exam. Now we come to one of the most dreaded topics, I would say, in the AIIMS exam, and that is the techniques. Now talking about the next two sections, the techniques, and the second section, which is the miscellaneous section, I would say two things. Number one, uh, very frequently, the technique being asked in the AIIMS exam is a new technique. So it is very likely that you may not know about this, and I would suggest not to worry about this technique related question if it is a new technique. Everyone else will be in the same boat as you. Same thing applies to miscellaneous. Very frequently we have one or two odd questions from the rarer topics which we generally don't cover, and remember again, everyone else will be in the same boat. So no need to worry much about these two topics. However, you must know about the questions which have been asked previously. So in case there is a repetition, you do not lose out on the easy 4 marks. So I'll quickly highlight the topics which have been asked. Northern blot. So blotting is one thing which you must know, the southern blot, northern blot, western blot. Then action of restriction endonuclease. You can see twice this question has been asked. So you should know restriction endonuclease, how they are acting, what type of ends they are generating, and that sort of thing. Now, various tests have been asked, which is the most optimum test for a particular scenario. The various scenarios have been how to identify the translocation, how to identify the localization of a genetic locus. Twice this question has been asked. How to identify the epigenetic modifications. So, which are the best tests for these techniques? These have been asked frequently. Then we have the question on nucleic acid sequence-based amplification, which is the amplification of RNA. Twice the question has been asked. Transformation alpha complementation are the same thing. They are the modified aspect of the lacocron, which is used in the genetic engineering, which has been asked. Then again, tests, ideal test for inborn error of metabolism, the ideal test for the measuring the HbA1c. These questions have been asked. CRISPR-Cas, I mentioned previously also, CRISPR-Cas was asked in terms of DNA damage, and second, the CRISPR-Cas in terms of technique also has been asked. Now, CRISPR-Cas is important because if you recall, recently Nobel Prize has been given for the discovery of this technique for splicing of the DNA. So what I would like to say here, please have a quick look at the Nobel Prizes in the last 2-3 years. They land up in your AIIMS exam quite frequently. Moving on, two questions have been asked from real-time PCR. This becomes all the more important in the current scenario of the COVID crisis, where the real-time PCR is the tool for diagnosis and identification of the infection by the COVID the COVID virus. Then questions on how to identify or study the 3D molecular structure once, details of flow cytometry. Again, I would say this was out of the blue question. Most of my MD students also were unable to answer this question, so no need to worry. Same applies for the question based on CRED combinase. What is the target for CRED combinase? This was the question which was asked. And one basic question asked twice back to back in two exams. Technique for protein precipitation. This question was asked twice. Now, one question was asked about the enzyme replacement therapy. Now, there are only very few diseases for which enzyme replacement therapy is curative and currently available in the country. So, you should know those 7-8 diseases for which the enzyme replacement therapy is successfully used for treatment and management of the patient. Last, I'll come to the miscellaneous topic, where once or twice out of the blue from the rarer topics we get the questions. I'll repeat, if a new miscellaneous question comes, you need not worry about that, but you must know the topic from which previously the question has been asked. Liver enzyme elevated in alcoholic hepatitis. Now, this is overlap with your medicine part, so you must know this question. One question was asked about insulin structure. Image was given and 4 parts were marked, and the question was where a damage will not cause any change. So again, out of the blue question. The potassium ion for vancomycin, what is the action at which site and what is the mechanism through which it is acting? This question has been asked. Insulin resistance in the liver cause. I would say some of these questions are still being researched, so there won't be a very good clear-cut answer in these questions. Again, I'll say for miscellaneous topic, need not worry if it is a new question. Synthesis of steroid hormones asked 2 or 3 times. Common precursor, what is the common end product, what do you find in the urine? These questions have been asked. Similarly, biomineralization, what do you find in biomineralization? Again, this is overlap a little bit with physiology, a little bit with orthopedics, but this is a conceptual question and you should know about biomineralization. Now, a very out of the blue question, cell membrane, if you damage the cell membrane with the needle, what repair mechanism will come to play? Again, I would say this is out of the blue question. First time when it came, if you did not know, no problem. But now you should know what is the repair mechanism. 2 questions asked on MSC complex, a little bit overlap with your immunology from the microbiology section as well as the pathology section. So you should know the properties of the MSC, which MSC will combine with which type of the cells, that part you should know. Similarly, the action of NADPH has been asked 2 times, you should know. Overlap with genetics, what is the mechanism of uniparental disomy, what are the disorders in which you see the uniparental disomy? This was asked. In which disorder you find the uniparental disomy. Then genetic changes seen in cancer overlap with the pathology section. 4 options were given where you had to identify which is the most common genetic change seen in the cancers. Now again, out of the blue, we have this question, the changes in brain metabolism after traumatic brain injury. But if you didn't know at that time, doesn't matter, but now you should know the answer to this question. Similarly, fuel for RBC. In the human body, the maximum genes are for which particular function? So question like that. And last question, Maltese cross appearance in urinary segment is seen in which condition? Again, I would say overlap with your path, or you can say micro section, mostly path. So these are some of the topics which have been asked in your AIIMS exam. Again, I would say each of our subjects is very vast. It is not possible to revise the whole subject thoroughly before you go for the exam because you have a minimum of 19 subjects to review. So it is a very good idea to have a exam focused revision before you are going for the exam. The AIIMS examiners have a different focus. The PGI examiners will have a different focus, particularly PGI where biochemistry is very, very important. And the NEET examiners have slightly different focus. Most probably by the year 2022, all this will disappear because we're going to have one single exam for all the PG entrances where this exam specific revision may not remain important. But as of now, exam specific revision is very, very important. It helps you to focus your revision program and it helps you to get the best output from the limited time that you have available. I hope these videos have been helpful to you. Please like if you have found them useful, and if you want to see more videos as I post them, then you must follow my YouTube channel. I'll keep posting the AIIMS revision program questions in the AIIMS discussion series over the next few weeks and months. So I'll ensure that all the papers have been discussed before the AIIMS exam actually occurs, the mid-year exam, if it is there. If it is not there, it doesn't matter. For the normal exam, they will be equally helpful. So take care, best of luck, and stay safe. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.